Here we go. Hello everyone, I'm Father Aaron. Welcome to The Dungeon Minister! Well, here it is. The Big Bad. But before we get to the Big Bad, the Ice Dwarves.
Hello.
The Ice Dwarves who live in this valley, have lived here for centuries, have found the party, and are inviting them back into shelter. Skåne wants nothing to do with this, so he has stomped off somewhere. But the party gratefully accept. Now, let's be clear. This is the DM providing the players a chance to rest up before they go up against the big bad, right? This is Rivendell. This is Bjorn's house. This is Lothlorien. This is every place in every adventure story you've ever read after trials and tribulations where the heroes can rest and prepare for the great conflict, the main event, right? And we're doing this because if they went up against pretty much anyone at this point, a sickly gnoll, they would lose. They'd be killed. Okay, so to give them a fighting chance, we're going to give them this. This is also, though, me playing with the idea of the very, very small having a role in defeating the very, very big. Especially for a party of adventurers whose plan relies so centrally on a literal giant. Well, that giant has taken off, and so they follow the Ice Dwarves. The dwarves lead them into a sheltered little nook in the foothills, a little valley, just the kind of place that Skåne was suggesting they go and shelter. They lead them in there where they find, in a rock face, a very, very well-hidden entrance to their lair. Now, I say lair. This isn't a proper kingdom as dwarves would have, with beautiful carvings and really finished and perfectly made chambers. They're ice dwarves. They are my version of the gully dwarves from the Dragonlance books, okay? They are really rough. They're looked down on by other dwarves, by other species. They don't respect them, and there's a reason. They're not as skilled, right? Anyhow, there they are offering, however, hospitality, warmth, safety. The players take it. The horses are kept in a stand of trees close by the mouth of the cave where they won't be seen. The Ice Dwarves are fascinated by the party. They've never met elves or halflings or humans before, for that matter. They're isolated in this valley. They're fascinated by their stories of adventure. They're fascinated by the gear they carry, the equipment they have. They're just enthralled by the whole thing. For a while. You see, the characters need a lot of rest. They really need some R&R, and so they stay multiple days. They stay, I think, a total of 3 nights, maybe 4. And eventually, the dwarves get sick of them being there, right? They get sick of these people who eat so much food and take up so much space next to the fire. And they've already heard all the stories. They've already pawed through all their equipment. You know, it's not interesting anymore. But they're not aggressive. These are the most passive-aggressive dwarves ever. So all they do is ignore the party. Totally ignore, act as if they're not even in the room. Just talk right past them, walk around them, don't look at them at all. Passive-aggressive dwarves. So, eventually, the players get the idea, I don't think we're welcome here anymore, and they leave. By that time, with good night's sleep and with a liberal use of Touchberry's healing sword, every time it is available and usable, they are getting close to, not quite at, but close to, within a few hit points of full. And they figure, we have a ways to go to get to Morag, we can sleep, we'll camp along the way, hopefully we'll recover enough points, hopefully nothing else attacks us, right? We'll get there, we'll be fine, we'll be at full strength when we face Morag. And that's the idea. Head off to Morag's lair and face her there. They have a whole thing. Between games, they're always talking and scheming. This is what we'll do. We'll lure her into a narrow passageway. Maybe she can chase Skåne down a narrow passage. I don't know what narrow passage they have in mind that is narrow enough that a dragon, can't turn around, but big enough for a frost giant. But anyway, We'll get her down a passage, and then we'll attack her from behind, and we'll bounce the lightning bolts back and forth, and oh, they're planning. They're planning, the boys, all the time, talking about how to defeat Morag. So this is what they're going to go do. Without Skåne? They don't know where he is, right? They've got no idea. He stomped off, and his footprints have been obliterated by the snow, the same snow that obliterated their footprints, which was good, because they wouldn't be followed, but they don't know where he is. Oh well, they know the general direction, and they head in that direction. They are going northeast, seeking the mountain spur that sticks out to the north that Skåne said they had to go around. The weather, as they get closer, gets colder and colder and colder. They are entering the influence of the dragon. The smaller dragons brought the cold with them when they arrived, cold and snow and wind. But Morag is so much more powerful that her presence radiates to the entire region. In fact, it is her that is shortening the growing seasons as far south as the Honeywood area and even south of that. She is why the lizardmen had to abandon their home in the marshes. She is the cause of the deep freeze, the presence of this dragon. As they get closer, even though they were prepared for a northern journey, they brought their warmest clothes, their woolies and their mittens and everything, even so, they begin taking cold damage. Just 1 point at first. But I say every step you take, it's getting colder and colder and colder. Uh-oh. What are we going to do? If we keep taking cold damage, if we keep taking this damage, by the time we get there, we'll be in no shape to fight. How are we going to fight her? They make the hard decision to turn around and to rethink things. If only we had Skåne with us, he might be able to tell us something. He might be able to... Where is that giant? The crystal ball. Oh yeah, we have a crystal ball. They had kind of forgotten about the crystal ball. They dig the crystal ball out, and Bob Johnny holds it, this time without gloves on. He holds it and says, "Show me Skåne." That is very important. The question that is asked is very important. This crystal ball is unfriendly. It has to show them what they ask for, because it has no choice, really. The same way that a genie would have no choice but to grant you your wish, although it might grant it in a way that is inconvenient. So the crystal ball has no choice but to show them what they ask. But it will only show them precisely what they ask, and it will show them in a way that doesn't really help them. So they see in the ball an image of Skåne, with no context. There he is. They can see that he's sitting in a clump of trees, but is he scanning the horizon? Is he looking for something? Is he just zoning out? They can't tell. It's not enough information. If they had said, "Show us how to get to Skåne," the crystal ball would have shown them a very inconvenient, torturous route to come to wherever Skåne is. But they didn't ask that. They just said, "Show us Skåne." It did. Unhelpful. Okay, well, how are we going to get our giant back? And how are we going to fight this dragon if she's holed up in her lair? No, holed up in her lair. She must know that her children have been killed, or she at least knows they're missing. She's going to want to come and look for them. She's going to want to find her children. They somewhat overestimate a dragon's nurturing parenting skills, but they severely underestimate the vengeance of a dragon who takes affront at the killing of her children, not because she loved them or cared about them at all, but because they were hers, and killing them is an insult to her. They underestimate that fury. How are we going to get her out, though? How are we going to lure her out? How are we going to tell her where we are? How are we going to let Skåne know where we are? Touchberry says, "We will light a tree on fire." Now, he gets this from our parish. Every year on the 6th of January, the Feast of the Epiphany, we have a Christmas tree bonfire where we set fire to everyone. If anyone who has a natural tree, plus the tree that we use in the church, they bring their tree to the church and we burn them. It's sort of a festive, fun thing, and if you have ever seen a Christmas tree that has been up since the beginning of December burn on January 6th, whoo, boy, they do go up. Columns of flames up into the stratosphere, right? So, the player knows this will happen. Touchberry says, let's set a tree on fire. But let's find one that's standing relatively alone so that we don't set the entire forest on fire. This isn't difficult. It's a boreal forest. There's lots of space between the trees. No problem. They find a pine tree that's relatively isolated, and Touchberry goes to work with oil and then sets it aflame. Torchberry has his beacon of Minas Tirith. Will Rohan answer? Well, they watch it flame for a while. Lots of smoke, because of course it's a still living tree, so it's wet wood. Lots of smoke pouring up. The flame spends some time, but doesn't last a whole long while until it is out and just smoldering smoke pouring into the sky. Well, anyone around can see that. Let's wait. They set the fire in the sort of early to mid-afternoon. By nightfall, they can hear footsteps. Skåne is approaching. They can see him now from the distance. Striding toward them, he comes up, with a scowl on his face, followed by polar bears, and he draws up to them.
No ice dwarves. This is good. Filthy, filthy dwarves.
Okay, bigotry aside, good to see you, Skåne. Have you seen anything? Do you know where Morag is?
I see nothing. This is not good. Normally she flies about, hunting. See nothing? This is very bad. This suggests she know. She will be watching. She will have seen this. She or her children. They will tell her. She will come.
Okay, the DM is telling them something, but okay, whatever. All right, so what do we do? What do we do? You know this land. You know this territory. Fleetwood has read enough books to know that choosing the ground for the battle is very important. That's half the battle. That's the other half.
Yo, Joe!
Anyway, he knows that that is half the battle, and so, Skåne, you know the territory. Where should we wait for her? Where should we hide? It has to be close enough to this tree so that she comes to the right place, but where should we wait?
I know place. Is lower ground, what you call dell. River carved out. Used to be a river, no longer. River dry up, dell remain. We go there. It is bowl.
Ooh, good. There is a place where the river used to crash down among and carved out some softer stone and out the other end, but it remains this, almost an amphitheater. Perfect. Because there, the dragon can't swoop over and attack while flying. She has to come down in and will then be vulnerable. Great. Take us there. Yes, it's a bit of quantum terrain, but anyway. He leads them to a place where, again, the land sinks down and there's a perfect ambush spot. So they take the horses off someplace and the mules off someplace to be hidden, a thick clump of trees at one edge of the clearing where they'll be as safe as possible. And by now, into night, they make camp. It is a tense night. During the night, a storm whips up. Is it a normal, natural storm, or is this a dragon storm? And I tell the players, whoever's on watch, you strain with all your ears and you can hear... Was that the flap of a wing? Is that a dragon wing beat, or is that just the wind? I'm just playing with them, keeping them on edge. The next morning dawns.
Find yourself placed for ambush. I will be in center. Dragon will see me. I cannot be hurt by cold. I will stand.
Skåne is doing this, incidentally, because he wants Morag gone as much as anyone. This was his valley. The goblins were there. They didn't bother him that much. Who cares a bunch of goblins? He doesn't mind. The goblins certainly did not come looking for trouble with him. So that was great for him. He wants her out of this valley. Desperately wants her out of this valley. He'd also like a share of the goblins' treasure, which he figures is in that lair still, so there is that. But he also knows that alone he stands no chance. I mean, yes, he's immune to the breath, but if he is the only one fighting, taking all of her attacks, she will win. He needs these magic-using elves. He needs this bold halfling. He needs this strange woman with her strong bow to pour on more attacks, to reduce Morag's strength, and to be targets, frankly. He needs them to take some of the hits. So he is willing to engage in this. He will stand in the center. They will take their positions. As they describe where they're going to hide, talk around the table turns to death. Some of us might not survive this. Some or all, says Touchberry. They take positions, and they wait. The waiting drags on. Let's light another tree on fire. Touchberry, of course. And he does. They find another tree that's separate enough, and he douses it with oil, and they set that one ablaze. It's not on fire for long. When the wind picks up, the snow begins to drive. This is not a normal, natural storm. She is coming. Faster than they would have expected. Skimming low over the treetops, she comes and dives into the depression and attacks. Furious! 2 claws and a bite onto Skåne, all of them hitting. Boom! He howls in rage and pain, whirling about and thrusting with his spear. He also hits. No! He shouts. From around the dell, arrows come pouring in, one from Touchberry, one from Foefire, who's actually taking a position up on the ridge, and 2 lightning bolts. Morag takes massive damage, screeches in pain, but does not flinch, lands on the ground, ready to fight. She whirls about on Skåne and bites, hitting more damage for the great giant. And as she whirls around, she sends her tail in the direction that she saw one of those lightning bolts coming from, and Bob Johnny, boom, goes down. He will spend the next round recovering from that, just getting to his feet, finding his axe. Fleetwood unleashes 3 magic missiles, while Touchberry charges into combat, and Foefire unleashes with Sigmund's bow, scoring a hit. The arrow burns into the white dragon, its fire of hatred for all dragons searing her. She screeches out. Skåne thrusts back with his spear, but misses, which is not easy to do with a Thaco as low as his, but he does manage. Touchberry, charging up, has thrown a flask of oil, which is splattered now all over the flank of the beast. Bob Johnny was supposed to ignite it, but he's still getting to his feet. Morag whips around, searching for the archer who shot that hateful arrow, and she sees Foefire and breathes a cone of icy blast at her with all the ferocity of the dragon. Fortunately, 2 lightning bolts, 3 magic missiles, and Skåne's spear thrust have helped. Foefire goes down to 5 hit points. Stay back, Foefire! Stay back! Oh dear. Skåne throws himself onto Morag from behind as now 6 magic missiles streak into the dragon, who howls in pain. They think they've got this. They think they've got her pinned and beaten, when another dragon swoops into the dell. One of her children is here. He lands on Skåne's back and drags the giant off of Morag, and they go tumbling together off into the trees. The polar bears who were coming into the fight now rush off to join that conflict. The giant, the biggest weapon in the party's arsenal, is off the table. It's just them and the dragon now. Touchberry is now the only visible target, although Morag has a pretty good idea where the 2 elves are, the 2 lightning bolts came from, and she's sure that archer isn't going to bother her for a while. Touchberry charges. Morag has the initiative, however, and bats at him twice. 2 claws, bringing him down. Both are hits. They brings him down 13 points. Bloodied and knocked aside, he is not deterred. He thrusts, but misses. Just then, Bob Johnny comes charging out of the trees with Hrothgar's axe aflame. Searing and angry, he swings for the side of the beast. He almost hits, narrowly misses by about 2. Now, what I normally do in these cases, I describe a miss that misses by 10 points or something as you dodge it, you step aside easily, etc. If someone just barely hits, I say you find a chink in the armor and push your sword in, right? I use the numbers to help the narration. Well, a near miss, I generally chalk up to the armor or the toughness of a creature's hide or its scales or something. So the axe makes contact. There's no damage from the swing of the axe, but there's fire. Foomp! The dragon goes up, and now she's taking damage from the fiery oil that is burning away on her. She screams in rage, and she turns, swatting Touchberry again with a claw, doing more damage, and biting at Bob Johnny. Boom! Hit. Bob Johnny is now in the low teens. It was 11 or 12 or something. He is in serious danger. Touchberry, battered, bloody, but not broken, grabs his sword, stands up, and thrusts! It's a hit! Fleetwood is in the action as well, pouring arrows in. He wants to shoot a web, but it's going to catch his friends if he does. He doesn't think he can get just the dragon, so he's just pouring arrows in. One miss, and the next round he will hit. At this point, the battle between Skåne and the smaller dragon is still raging in the trees. They roll out of the trees into the still burning pine tree, knocking it over. He just crashes to the ground, howling pain from both of them because fire is not either of their friends. Skåne has lost his spear. It was lost during the combat when he rolled badly. The dragon knocked it out of his hand or something, so he picks up that tree. Knowing it's going to hurt, he grabs it by the bottom of the trunk where there's less flame, and he wields it as a club, hits the dragon. Hits it square across the face, a near fatal blow. That dragon is out of there. He wants no more to do with this, takes off. Morag howls in anger at having been abandoned, turns and breathes an icy blast at Touchberry. Thank heavens for those halfling saving throws. He makes the save, but still takes 19 points of damage. He is now also in deep trouble, but 19 points. We're bringing her down. It redoubles their effort, and they charge in against the dragon. Touchberry swings, misses this time, but he is on the attack. Bob Johnny backs away. He is in serious trouble. One touch and dead territory. He is going to fire his magic missiles. Fleetwood fires again and misses, but now Skåne and the polar bears are coming. Suddenly, another small dragon appears. And I mean literally just appears, poof, just poof, right in front of the polar bears. Between Morag and the polar bears, there is a small white dragon. She has cast Phantasmal Force. Remember, dragons are spellcasters. I rolled for her spells randomly. There wasn't much useful. But Phantasmal Force? Oh yeah. There, of course, is a saving throw to see if they are fooled by this illusion. I give a bonus to the party because they've seen Phantasmal Force before. They've seen it many times. Specifically, a dragon. Fleetwood likes to use this one, so they make their saves. No problem. Nobody is fooled, except the polar bears. Polar bears are animals. I don't even give them a save, right? And, a dog can be fooled by a cardboard cutout of a dog, right? The polar bears don't know. They rear up. And Morag takes this chance to begin beating her great wings. She is out of here. She wants nothing to do with this. Stop her! Stop her! We'll never get her this week again! Stop her! Skåne grabs on to the tail and holds on for dear life, bellowing, "Kill her!" 3 magic missiles come streaking out from Bob Johnny, striking Morag. Not enough to kill her, but enough to bring her to the ground. The Phantasmal Force vanishes, of course, because it's been interrupted by a wound. She swats out at Touchberry. He is now in single digits. No surrender. He charges against Morag, thrusting and hitting. The polar bears pile on, and another arrow comes streaking from Fleetwood, and one from Foefire. Clinging to life on the edge of the dell, she shoots again, and it is enough. Down. The dragon falls. Morag is dead.